Good evening, I'm Jeff Koinange, and this is Jeff Koinange Live. Tonight is a follow-up of a story that we discussed last week, actually several stories. Everything from Chinese relations in Kenya to Anglo leasing to state of security. In other words, the state of the nation. We need to keep talking about this because a lot of us get very confused in the minutiae, if you will. Well, I have a couple of experts today who will try and break things down for us just so that we know if we're heading in the right direction. Closest to me, a man who knows his constitution back to front, front to back. He's a constitutional lawyer known only by two initials, KK, as in Koinange. On the very far right, former member of parliament for Lagdera, former deputy speaker of the National Assembly. In fact, when we had a show in Eastleigh a few weeks ago, he was one of the panelists, and he'll tell us exactly what happened because it was a lot more serious than we thought. Sit back. My Twitter handle is @KoinangeJeff. The hashtag is JKL. Let's get busy. Gentlemen, welcome to JKL. Mweshimiwa, it was pretty dangerous in Eastleigh when we were there a few weeks ago. I mean, we don't want to make light of any of this, but it was pretty dangerous.
Very. I get the feeling that the guys wanted to get us. Whoever was, and my condolences and my accolades also go to the two Matthias, two policemen who lost their lives in the process in defending the dignity, the honor, and the security of our own country. Yeah. But the feeling I get is that they were coming for us. Indeed, and you know, next time we won't be so dumb as to go to a place like General Oringe and First Avenue. We'll stay in the comfort of this place. So, KK, let's talk about current issues and there are issues that are eating away, if you will, the issues that are nagging a lot of Kenyans. And let's start with the Chinese, and you know, because you know their prime minister was here, he came bearing lots of gifts, and we're talking about Kenya's GDP being plus minus 40 billion US. These folks came in with close to 5 billion, if not more, in loans, in gifts, in goodies. That's 1/8 of our GDP on a weekend.
Yes.
Goodness. I mean, what's the catch?
Well, I think the issue here is this. What do you expect us to do as a country? We have serious developmental deficit. There's no question about that. Principally in the area of infrastructure. Now, if we do not invest in infrastructure, I can tell you, we will go nowhere. Take the example of America. What changed the landscape of America is what they call the interstate highways. That's what changed America. Any country that is going to develop, it must take care of its infrastructure.
But Mweshimiwa, are we putting all our eggs in one basket, if you will? Is this too much of a risk? Allowing the Chinese to come in? You know, we're bending over backwards for these folks. Is that right?
I think it's, as Karanja has said, infrastructure it's very, for a country to have a meaningful developmental takeoff, you must have the right infrastructure in place. You must have the roads, the rail, the air, the technology, IT. You must have cheap and affordable energy. You have to have all the infrastructure in place. As far as the Chinese are concerned, as you put it, I think for political reasons we decided to look more to the east immediately after the elections, or just before the elections of 2013. So it's the policymakers, the governors, people who are governing the country itself, who have decided maybe we need to reach out to the east much more than we did in the past. As for the Chinese are businessmen and women. Chinese they're there to make profits. There is, well, of course, when you go and buy a number of pizzas, you are likely to get 1 free. That doesn't mean that is free. It's not free. It's factored in the cost of the other buys that you made. Yeah. So the Chinese are here to make money. The Chinese have never had any imperial desires or designs throughout their thousands of years history. They've always done business, and they will do business with us, and they'll do business wherever they can make the profits. And now they're trying to tap into the African raw materials, into the African infrastructural development. And so basically their focus is the continent now, because this is the only virgin continent that has not been exploited yet.
Yeah. KK, speaking of costs, and I know you want to contribute to this, but let me ask you the cost. Let's say, what are the deals? Standard gauge railway, everybody knows about it. 327 billion Kenya shillings, which comes to about 4 billion US. The same company that did the feasibility study just happened to be the same company that got the contract. Conflict of interest from the start. Fine, we've moved on. But again, moving forward, was this the right thing to do?
You know, let us not overemphasize about the Chinese model, because we are losing the focus on a global basis. Whether you are dealing with the Americans, you are dealing with the French, you are dealing with the Germans, you are dealing with Canadians, you are dealing with the Russians, they don't behave differently. And I want to tell you this. I think Africa needs to understand where are they coming from. For example, from 1884, when Berlin Conference took place, the Western world took over their Africa. They subdivided it among themselves, but they kept it for them to do as they wish when they want. All right? Now the jittery you are hearing, whether it is from within or from without, it is being informed by lack of history. You show me any one African country, whether it's by the French, the Portuguese, the Chinese, the Americans, the Germans, or the British, that have developed any country in Africa, and whether they were behaving anything differently. And I agree with him. The Chinese are in business, like any other person is business. We Africans should also be in business. There's no crime in being in business. You don't expect the Chinese taxpayer, the Chinese hard-working men and women, to produce their wealth and come and give it to the Kenyans. Wait a minute. They are not Father Christmas. They are not Santa Claus. They are in business, just like the Americans are not Santa Claus. Don't be under any impression. The British have never been and they will never be. The French are not, and any other outsider of Africa. Now what we need to do as Africans, we have to be smart. We play smart game. We should be able to understand everything and anything that goes on. We must not be held by the hand. And I'll tell you what, in 2008, I was in Washington. Who hosted me for lunch? Paul Wolfenson, the former World Bank president, at Brookings Institute in Washington. And we were having a discussion. And you know what he said? You know, it is very difficult to do anything about Kenya. We cannot influence Kenya to do anything. Why? Because they are financing 96 to 97% of their recurrent expenditure. This is a former World Bank president who was a deputy secretary of defense in the U.S. and is mourning that we are too independent.
And they didn't like that?
They didn't like that. They don't like it. So for me, anybody telling me that we can bash the Chinese because they are going to do standard gauge railway, or they're involved in other infrastructures like the Greenfield Airport or the issue of security, no, please, what is the comparison? What have the Western world done for Africa or in Africa? You take the case of Israel, Zaire or Congo. It was under Belgium. They raped that country. King Leopold kills over 10 million Africans. To this day, who was probing Mobutu? It is there in the internet, in the YouTube. The CIA was involved in it. They did everything possible. They killed, Patrice Lumumba was killed. Please, for heaven's sake, let us not be so naive as Africans, expecting that the West or even the Chinese, they are going to care for you. They are in business. And so, let me finish. And so, for me, what we need to do is to look at, is it good for us, the standard gauge railway? 110%. There's no question about that. Because unless we have got infrastructural asset to change the landscape, change the paradigm of Africa, we will never be able to exploit the natural resources. Today, we are talking about the extractive industry, the oil, the gas, the minerals. They can be on the ground, but until you exploit them, you're not going to impact on the standard of living of your people in this country. So you want to have to be a saint, to be a virgin as Africa. please forget it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Mheshimiwa, KK makes some valid points, but the one point I want to tackle is, are we smart enough? Are we playing smart, like KK is asking, to be on that level playing field with the Chinese? Are we playing smart enough? Or are they going to walk all over us like others did?
Well, personally, I agree with KK. We don't have to be subordinate or subservient to any East or West. We live in the best interest of our country. We cannot dictate the terms entirely because we are the junior partner at the receiving end. There's no doubt about that. But I want, my personality, the way I see it is that, yes, the Chinese have a lot to offer. There's no question about when it comes to infrastructural development, right from Tazara, the Tanzania-Zambia railway, you remember that?
Yeah.
They've always come handy in to support Africa on such matters. Not to mention the fact that those days they even had an ideological frustration. Chinese are not the socialists or the communists they were those days. Today, they're pure businessmen, pure and simple. What I see myself is that let us have due diligence in everything. If it's a government-to-government arrangement, let us not trust and say that the Chinese do business this way, so let's accept their model. No, we don't want to accept the Western model or the Chinese model. We want to accept a model that is going to show up transparency and is going to give value for money. You see what I mean? So my worry is that, like you put it, I mean, there are certain things that contravene our own laws. Our own procurement laws does not allow one to do the design and at the same time to supervise the construction again. And again, for one to sponsor the feasibility study and then to become the company that's going to do again the construction itself.
Yeah.
So there's certain glaring lapses in this, which I think, in my opinion, should not have been entertained.
KK, let me ask you this. And you were with the president on his recent trip to Nigeria, right? And of course, Nigeria recently named Africa's largest economy, 500+ billion. You were there, KK, and you know, we compare ourselves to the giant of the West. Can we compare ourselves with Nigeria? Are we in their league?
We don't have to compare ourselves with anybody. All we need to do is to make sure that we develop our country to be able to provide quality standard of living of our people. Let me tell you, for me, going to Nigeria, it was very, very important. And I want to congratulate the Nigerians for having gotten the economy where it is. But also let us understand one thing. The greatest asset of the Nigerians, one of the greatest assets is their extractive industry. They are producing something in excess of 2 million barrels of oil every day, leave alone the gas. That's a huge amount of money that they are generating. So their economy, yes, it has now become the biggest economy in Africa, and I really want to commend them. But the other thing about Nigerians, they are assertive. They don't allow anybody to roll over them, do anything they want to do. And that's what I would like to see in Kenya. We should be assertive. We should be men and women of pride, of dignity. Let us not allow anybody and everything to push anything down our throat. That to me is very, very crucial. And how do we do that? One, we must be men and women who love to search knowledge. Because if you're going to develop capacity, you must be very much in concert as far as science and technology is concerned. Engineering, you must make sure that you understand economy very well. You must be able to understand agriculture. You must be able to feed yourself, all right? You must be able to ensure that your young men and women, they have got facilities to go to school. And Kenya generally has done quite well. But we need now to create a situation whereby we don't become skeptics. Whether my friend is in opposition or I'm in opposition and you're in opposition, the one thing that is central is that our country is our motherland. Our country is our motherland. But sometimes when I hear some of the leadership talk, I just always wonder, these guys, are they coming from where? It is for us to be able to come together, coalesce together when we have a challenge and say, this is our national agenda. And we pursue it, we prosecute it. Don't think that the Americans are going to help you here. No way.
Mheshimiwa, do you agree that we are whiners, that every time someone sticks their head out, everyone's complaining, bickering? Yeah. Do you agree?
Let me tell you one thing. To be fair to Kenyans, we're some of the most hardworking people in this country, in this world. some of the best educated people, there's no doubt about that. And we have the capacity to produce. We don't have any oil, we don't have any gas.
Not yet.
We haven't exploited our marine resources that well, and still we are able to do as well as we are. The way I see it myself is that we need to leverage on the areas where we are very good at until such time that we can do these other things. For example, agriculture has been a very good area for us. This is an agricultural country. The other bit is that we have a very elaborate and a very good service sector, because being the gateway to East and Central Africa, there's a lot we can do ourselves. So I don't think that we are whining and basically literally complaining all the time. This is also a country that has had a history of mega corruptions. Mega corruptions, ghost projects. We're still paying for Kenren today. Where is Kenren? Where is that fertilizer industry? Do you know where it is? We're still paying for that, and we're probably paying for so many other ghost projects. So it's good for Kenyans to be skeptic whenever a mega project is in place. So what's the responsibility of the governors and the people who are running the system to show that this thing is perfectly overboard? It's not like another Golden Bag, it's not like another Anglo Leasing, it's not a Kenren, it's not one of the myriads of the projects that we still keep on paying for. And some of them, our grandchildren will be paying for.
Gentlemen, speaking of corrupt projects, I want to talk about this after the break. Anglo Leasing is the latest ghost to have come back to bite us. I want to talk about that because there's a lot of confusion and a lot of skepticism about that. Are we going, I mean, why should we pay? And others say, why not?
Okay.
Also, security. We've got to talk about security, gentlemen. I mean, this is paramount. Paramount. Whether we tint our cars or not. Let's take a break. KK and the Mheshimiwa, former Deputy Speaker, are on the bench. And yes, we're talking issues. We're delving into that. To Jeff Koinange live at the poolside of the Intercontinental Hotel. It's all about the state of the nation. Everything that's plaguing us, if you will, or maybe everything we need to move forward. On the bench, KK, Koinange Kabage, and also former Deputy Speaker, Farah Marlin. Gentlemen, we're talking about corruption deals, Mheshimiwa, you said a moment ago, and yes, Anglo Leasing has come back to bite us in the you-know-what. There's a section of society that says we have to pay back these deals, and there were about 18 of them. We have to pay them back. Others say, why pay them back? We know the reasons why we should pay. There's a Euro bond for several $billion, which we need to get on. Our assets could be seized overseas. I mean, lots of reasons. Should we pay for that Anglo Leasing deal?
I don't think we should pay for that. You remember there's this case, the World Duty Free. I don't know if you remember this case.
At the airport?
At the airport, with this guy who has an Iranian... Hussein. And we were taken to court. And in the court, it was alleged that he got the license because he claimed he bribed the former president with $20 million. You remember that?
Yep.
And the judge said, you know, the case is lost. You can't come and say that you need to be paid because Kenya government contravened the terms and the conditions of the contract between us and them, and at the same time say that you acquired that contract with Kenya government through unfair means, through corruption. So when you have such things like Anglo Leasing, it's common sense, simple logic, that there was something that was not done right. Now, what happens, I'll tell you. Our lawyers don't defend this. The state councils don't defend this. We don't engage the right top-notch lawyers outside the country. There must be a collision between the people who want to be paid up there, who are winning these cases out there, and some people in the country here who are in a position to make decisions on certain very critical things. So these things need to be investigated properly. All the facts need to come out, because up to now it's a faceless thing. You don't know who Anglo Leasing is.
KK, do you agree, disagree?
Well, first of all, let's make a distinction.
Yes.
I'm glad my colleague he has mentioned, and a man I have respect for. He talked about the case of duty free. But let's just get the facts right here. Duty free, it came under what you call INCID, International Center for Investment Dispute, okay? Which is a 1966 World Bank Convention, which Kenya signed to. And it is there to arbitrate between dispute between individuals and government.
Yes.
That is what it is there. Now, he says very clearly that Hussein admitted before the court
Through his lawyer.
that he bribed
Somebody.
Mr. ABCD.
Yes.
On his own admission. That's what he said. But let's just talk about the issue of Goldenberg tonight. And I'm not holding brief for anybody. Kenyans are talking generally. But
So you're saying Anglo Leasing?
Anglo Leasing.
Anglo Leasing. They're talking generally without actually going to the facts. Let me lay out the facts from a research point of view. There are two cases that are in contention. One of them involved a company called Universal Subspace.
Right.
Subspace.
Yep.
That's one company. The other one involved a company called First Merchant Securities Corporation. Those are the two companies. So I'm going to be very specific myself. These two companies, under the Ministry of Communication and Transport, they were given contracts. Two contracts. These two contracts related to PCK, Postal Corporation of Kenya. Between the two of them, they were equal to about 23, almost to $24 million. Those are the two contracts. Kenya government signed those contracts, and those contracts were performed.
The services were provided.
The two of them were performed. When they were performed, in 2004, Kenya government, under the crowd of the so-called Anglo Leasing, said they stopped the repayments. We had paid over $6 billion in one of them, and we had paid another one about $7 million. All right? That had been paid. So what happened? The first one, all right, they went to court in a court called Geneva Tribunal of First Instance. Geneva Tribunal of First Instance. When they went there, what happened? The Kenya government argued its case at the tribunal level. They lost it. They appealed. They went to Geneva Court of First Instance. And that time we had QSs who are representing the Kenya government. And the Kenya government lost the case. You get it? That's one case. When you hear people saying, oh, it was not appealed, they're just not talking what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. It was appealed and we lost. Let's go to the other case. All right? The other case went to the Court of Justice in England. When we went to the Court of Justice in England, again we lost. And I'll tell you why we lost. Kenya government was using the report of PwC. The report of PwC had said that there was corruption. All right? The prices were exaggerated. They were told, bring the evidence in court. I'm now talking as a lawyer. You have alleged, bring the evidence. There was no evidence. There was no what? Evidence. What was left to the judge? Other than to say, you the defendant,
pay up.
You have to pay. In one of the cases, we agreed to settle $7 million. All right? In 2006. Then after that, we refused to settle. So, please, don't hear people talking generally, because sometimes I find it very strange.
Yes.
And I also tell you something else. The Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya then, Smiling Wako, all right?
Yeah.
He signed those contracts. He signed those contracts. You get what I mean? So when the matter goes to court and you make allegation that this has happened, all right? That has happened.
Yeah.
And you lose the case, what do you expect to happen? You are told, now, the contract was performed, you are alleging it was exaggerated, you are alleging there was corruption. Give us the proof.
Just a minute.
There is no proof. If my friend has any dispute, to challenge what I'm saying, let him say. I'm talking about 2 cases involving.
Okay.
The truth is
Let's hear him.
You see, Jeff, there's a lot of information I'm hearing for the first time from my friend KK. PwC is
PricewaterhouseCoopers.
PricewaterhouseCoopers. PricewaterhouseCoopers, when these people did the study that needed to be done. There is no way a company of that kind of reputation and that kind of name, brand, literally a global brand, can just work on rumors and say that the prices were exaggerated. There must have been a proof that time. But there's a government that's supposed to be responsible for that. You cannot tell somebody out there like me or like KK or yourself, go and bring us the proof. There's a government. If this thing, as Koinange puts it, had no issues, it was above board, it was a straight matter, we would have had it already explained to Kenyans instead of shrouding it in that kind of secrecy. You get my point?
Yeah.
Shrouding it in that kind of secrecy. So I highly doubt that there is any way that a very open tender, very above board, due diligence done, performed very well. The footprints are on the, basically in our country here. We can see the value we got for this kind of money. The government should have been able to explain that.
Let me ask you this, though.
Why was these things not explained? Why doesn't nobody talk about it in the government?
Okay, Mheshimiwa, here's another one.
And in any case, the current president one time said, we will not pay for it. We shall not pay it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's basically how it was. What was the basis of the deputy prime minister at that time, who was the minister for finance, taking that kind of a firm position? There was definitely evidence to the extent that convinced him it was not fair to pay this.
KK, Mheshimiwa has a point. There's a point.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
When you go to court, it is not politics.
I know.
All right?
Yes.
I have told you 2 cases. I have told you about first merchant security corporation. That's one company. And you can go and check statistics. The other one is Universal, right?
Yeah.
Statspace. Those are the 2 companies I'm addressing. I'm not talking about generally. The politicians can talk anything they want to talk. Me, I'm talking about legal issues which are there in print. If you want to go to street in the confusion, start telling people, Kenyan, what you are saying, forget it. Even if it was, if the Minister for Finance was saying he was only going to pay, this is not a magistrate court somewhere in Garissa, somewhere in Kiambu. This is a court of justice. Your own evidence through PwC that you are saying is global, it is anything. No. We don't talk about group, we talk about evidence. There was no evidence.
KK, let me ask you this.
No, let the Kenyans understand this. What Kenyans should understand is this. Your own government, all right, committed to pay a contract and it was performed. You know what it involved? What is called VSAT.
Yeah. Broadband.
Okay,
yeah.
broadband.
Yes.
That's what was involved. And it was supplied and it was performed. You alleged as a country, it was more expensive, it was overpriced, and there was corruption. Okay, give us the evidence. You don't produce evidence. You think the judges are going to create evidence for you? They don't do that. Please, I'm not talking about Anglo, Leasing, whatever they talk about. I'm talking specifics.
Okay,
that's what I would like to do.
Okay, so we're paying for this today.
We must pay.
But who's to stop these other deals rearing up their heads, and we pay for those? We'll be forced to pay.
Let me tell you, and this is why it is very, very important. Let me tell you, I have said it before, and I'm repeating. The reason why I was never comfortable with Amos Wako, and I wish he was here, is that for 18 years, for 20 years, he was in the state law office, and he never built capacity. Even those cases we're talking about, you know who was representing us? QCs. Those are the ones who are representing us. Our own state law office has never had capacity to deal with the things they are talking about. And he was there for 20 years smiling to everybody. All right? I wish you call him here.
Yeah, next time I will. KK.
And he himself signed.
He's a senator now, by the way. He's a senator.
I don't care. He could be the president. He could be the senator. I'm telling you right now. He signed on those deals himself.
On behalf
under
of the government?
Ministry of Communication and Transport. Those are the facts. And if anybody would like to challenge me, I'm willing to get that challenge. But let us just talk generally. Kenyans are talking about things they don't even know.
Jeff.
Yes,
this is not a court right now for us to be able to take it. I respect KK's position on this. But KK is telling us something that we've never had for the last 18 years.
Yeah.
Just
KK's
a moment.
done his research.
Just a moment. And you know, these are the kind of things. We're talking about a government. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm not going to talk about Amos Wako. I'm not going to talk about the second president. I'm not going to talk about third president, because this thing has outlived all of them. It's now with the fourth president. So I'm not going to try and apportion blame there and say this guy said this or that guy said this. But the government has got a collective responsibility. Kenyans, the government owes us an explanation. KK might as well tell us who are the faces of Anglo Leasing in Kenya today, for example.
KK, will you tell us?
Can you tell us?
I'm going to talk about that.
Go on.
Now, let me tell you something.
Yes.
I'm not here to talk about anybody. I'm talking about facts. The issue which you really are addressing is this.
Yes.
Who are the partners, if any,
Yes. Of Anglo Leasing.
of this? I'm not talking about Anglo Leasing.
Yes.
I'm talking about these two cases.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Specific.
Yeah.
Because those are the ones that are in contention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are the agents
Yes.
in this country?
Yes.
And what Kenyans should be saying, yes, if there are a lot of people who are involved, you know what I would say? Fine. If you are involved, and this is a matter of evidence, you have to take it to court. So-and-so was involved, so-and-so was involved, so-and-so was involved, fine. We were made to pay for a price that we never needed to pay. Now we are holding you to account. We shall seize your assets and you pay it on behalf. That's what we should be talking about. And you know what?
What?
If we are serious as a country, that's what we should be talking about.
Yes.
Not to be telling people, we are not going to pay our international obligations. Let me tell you, we passed a constitution. In the constitution, chapter 1, it says that we must honor international rules of obligation.
KK, whenever was a high-level person prosecuted in this country? Tell me when. When did it ever happen?
Well, okay, that's what
No,
we are having is this
KK was
case.
just going to tell us who the faces
No, no,
are.
I want to know.
I didn't say I was going to tell you who is. All I'm trying to say is this. I have no knowledge
Why
about those
should it
people.
be
The
secret?
point that I'm trying to say is this.
Yes, yes.
Because you see, when we talk generally as a people, all right, we confuse innocent Kenyans, particularly leadership, all right? After all, the people who are talking about it, all of them have been in government. They must be knowing. They must be knowing. Isn't it? So they must be know who is it. And if you don't have evidence,
Yes.
please shut up and get on to pay the obligation to others. If Kenyans are so clueless, they have no capacity of understanding that when you are signing agreements, there are consequences, then for heaven's sake, don't blame the world.
Yeah, but we blame ourselves because we put them in office.
Who is ourselves?
The rest of us, because we'll be paying for these loans
No, no,
for the rest of our lives.
Let me tell you, my friend.
You see,
Please,
Jeff.
listen. When you say ourselves, you go back, there are records. Ask Wako. Wako, you are signing the agreement saying this contract, they are fine. You signed. And you owe the obligation to the Republic of Kenya as the chief legal officer, chief legal advisor to the government. All right? Did you do due diligence? Was due diligence given to you so that you can sign? People are not holding the people who are responsible to account.
I need to bring him on the show.
Yeah, bring him on the show.
Which more you were saying?
Yeah.
No. What I'm trying to say is that I mean this thing cannot be defended now. If there was any one thing, yes, if there are international obligations and our government has signed on to it, that those international obligations must be honored, and honored, but in a manner that essentially is going to we Kenyans, we owe Kenyans, or the government of the day owes Kenyans sufficient explanation. If there were issues that were raised by PricewaterhouseCoopers, they must have raised on an item-by-item basis and made a comparative between what was available in the market and what we are supposed to pay. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
These are the kind of information that Kenyans need to know. It's possible, for example, in the case of the ship. Remember this ship in...
Yes, the naval vessel.
The naval vessel there.
Yep.
We bought the naval vessel eventually. But what happened is that whereas it was contentious at that time, at the time when the actual contract itself was signed, it might have looked like it was overpriced and bloated. But progressively, as you continue over the years while the thing was being built still, it became sensible to see that if you had to look for a similar, we will end up paying more than we are going to pay that time. And that's why Parliament ended up allowing, basically passing that and paying it. And that's the reason why many of us insist that anytime there is a mega contract and mega responsibilities on the part of the taxpayers in terms of service and external debt, that thing had better be taken through Parliament. You see what I mean? And that would have been the best thing also even for the standard railway gauge. because then there's going to be a lot of ventilation. It's not like the government of the day is hiding something. As long as something is being done right, you have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Just let me qualify one thing. And I'm not defending anybody. Me, I'm just talking about the record. Now, there are two committees of Parliament. Public Investment Committee.
Yeah, I see.
It gave the deal clean bill of health. There was also a committee on communication. Again, of Parliament, it gave clean bill of health.
Anglo Leasing.
No, I'm not talking about Anglo Leasing.
Oh, you're talking about this.
I'm talking about what you're talking about. Standard gauge railway.
Oh, standard gauge.
Yes, that's
Okay.
what it is. So, what are we talking about? You know, one of the things that I would like to tell Kenyans, please don't live in the world of dreams. Be very specific. What are you talking about? Instead of talking everything generally, you know, we tend to talk generally. Me, I like to talk specifically. And I'm answering him about railway gauge. All right?
Yeah.
Because if that parliament, we had Kenan, who was the chairman, we had Honorable Kamada, who was the chairman of the communication, they all looked at it and they have come to one conclusion. The railway gauge, the standard gauge railway deal is okay.
And
Now,
there are not going to be any ghosts coming up.
let me support my brother in one thing. One of the things that Kenyans should do, and this includes the media, under the freedom of information, and it's provided for in the new constitution under the Bureau of Rights, we must demand information. It's our right. If you don't get information from the government, go to the court. And this court will make sure you have that information. But let us not play football with Kenyans. Talking generally, the members of parliament doing anything. You know, say, oh, we are not going to do it.
Jeff,
Yeah.
the law is very clear. You know, our procurement laws are very clear. You can't go and do a feasibility study that is financed by the contractor himself. You can't do that. You see, this is a conflict of interest. It's like asking you, what would you want to be done for you? And then you say, I want to get a building that is 30-something floors. And you're going to do the contract. You will then commission somebody to go and do the feasibility study. And then that same person again does the design, because that's where the money goes into eventually. Does the design. And most likely somebody, again, not far from that, does the construction management.
Let's do this. Let's do this. We're going to take another break, come back. We'll finish on that, but we still have to come back to security, gentlemen. Let's not forget security. But I agree with him. Conflict of interest, KK. Conflict of interest.
We'll deal with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh my. It is still heating up right here on JKL.
Don't take
KK. Koinange and Farah Marlin. And we're talking issues. We're talking issues that you would discuss out there in the comforts of your living rooms. Was tackling them right here on JKL. We'll take another break. Coming back, plenty more to talk about. Do not go away. Jeff Koinange live at the poolside of the Intercontinental. And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live at the poolside of the Intercontinental. If you are just joining us, we're discussing issues, tough issues, bread and butter issues, issues like China-Kenya relations, Anglo leasing, and yes, we're about to talk about the state of security in the country with KK, Koinange and former Deputy Speaker Farah Marlin. Gentlemen, before we go to security, real quick, the conflicts of interest that Moshe was talking about.
Good. Let me put it this way. You want to say something?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
You see, Koinange Kabage is giving a lot of information to Kenyans tonight. Why can't the government give us that information? I can see it. You need to.
Are you saying the government doesn't do its research, or it's not?
No.
Or it's not volunteering information?
No. You see, the reason why Kenyans don't believe that anything is being done right, and that there's a lot of sleaze which is out there, and the government is unable to come out open on these things because of the involvement of people in the government in all these corrupt deals.
Yeah.
That is what basically makes Kenyans wary.
So you're saying there's no transparency?
There's absolutely no transparency. There's never been any transparency. I want to ask Koinange, why can't they say it? Koinange Kabage is telling us now. Why can't the government come forward with this kind of information? If I were in the government and they have nothing to hide, I'll come and face Kenyans with the full information.
KK?
Yeah. First of all, let me just say something. My good friend here says that the Chinese were involved in the tender, in the feasibility study.
Yeah, and the design.
They were involved in the design.
Yes.
And they were involved in
now the construction.
Procurement.
And the financing, everything.
Okay. this is what they are calling the government-to-government project. And as you rightly said, it's a $3.8 billion project. Billion-dollar project. Now, I want my friend here to tell us, under the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, which specific section of the law that prohibits what the Chinese have done?
No, it's not allowed. I mean, I can get you all those provisions. Of course, I don't have it at my fingertips here. But if you intend to do it, all I need to do is that. Koinange Kabage is a lawyer. I'm a student of law too, and I've been a lawmaker for all these years. that one is not allowed. You can't basically be the jury, the judge, and the executioner. You can't be.
Okay, you disagree?
You have waited for the World Bank to fund this particular project.
Right.
You should have read what Jaidi Kisielo said today. I can tell you, in the Standard, I recommend that you read the Standard today, the Nation today. He had written a brilliant article as far as the issue of the railway is concerned. You know, to me...
The other issue I want to talk to you about. I was there as the Deputy Speaker in Parliament last time, and I had absolutely no time for a parliamentary committee to come to me and tell us, this is above board, this is below board. This is right, this is wrong. All they need to do is that they can give us a very comprehensive report to explain why they think this was done right. And making all those comparisons.
But KK just said two committees signed off.
Yeah, for example, the comparisons which are out there now. People are comparing the one which was done from Benghazi to Sitre, which is basically going through the coastline of Libya. The one which was in Ethiopia. The one which comes all the way from Tanzania to Burundi, which have got bigger viaducts, you know what I mean, or much higher ones. And essentially they say the terrain is even much more rougher than the terrain we have here. Because it's fairly straightforward. Of course, when you come from the coast to come to Nairobi, you're climbing. But it's not as bad as when you're going through Burundi. I don't know if they've been to Burundi yourself.
Yeah, indeed.
So the point is that Kenyans, when they ask for a value for money, it's very simple. You can explain this and say that this is basically what's available. This is what we got. It's either too expensive or it's the right price.
Is this what we're talking about, KK? Is this the complaining, the whining stuff?
I think the point of the matter is this. You know, we don't have engineering statistics or information here to be able to make the kind of comparison they are talking about. People talk generally. All I would like somebody to say is that this is the thing that I'm talking about. This is costing this is costing that, and that's why I'm raising an issue. But also you have to ask yourself, you are being funded by somebody, isn't it? You want it or you don't want it. You enter here Intercontinental, let me tell you. Listen, when you come to the Intercontinental here, they pay the tea is costing you 100 shillings. Or you say, no, in Liver Road, it is costing me 20 shillings. Go to Liver Road. Why are you entering here? You know, this is the sort of language that you find that is too pedestrian. It doesn't make sense. And now let's move to the next thing.
Are you telling me that the Chinese technology is intercontinental and the German technology is River Road?
I don't care. Well, go to the Germans if you want.
I think that has settled it. We've settled that one. Let's move on.
Yes.
Gentlemen, a very serious topic, state of security. You know, in one weekend, there were 4 bombs in Nairobi, Mombasa, 4 different locations. Several people killed, dozens maimed, but we moved on. It's like we moved on. It's like the next day we woke up, it was like, oh, okay, let's move on. And we're still not out of the woods yet, and you know that, and Mweshimiwa, you know that.
Yes.
What are we doing? What are we not doing when it comes to state of security?
State of security, me and you are not experts in security. We are not paid by the taxpayers to take care of the security of this country. There are government bodies and institutions that are supposed. We have an intelligence institution in this country that we give billions and billions of Kenya shillings. We have a criminal investigation department in this country, which we spend a lot of taxpayers' money to keep it the way it is. We have the police. We have all these arms of the government. Why is it that when we lost people to this illicit brews, we were able to sack people immediately because they were sleeping on the job? Why is it that when these things happen, these things are faceless? They happen, we don't know who's doing that. We know that terrorists who are doing that. But we don't know individual names. We don't know whether it is a member of the crowd which is out here, who is doing that, or is a friend of ours who goes in the same club with that. We don't know who are doing this. What happened to the government? What happened? 200 incidents and nobody can show us a trail. You get my point? Nobody can show us a trail.
Do we put our hands, our lives in the hands of Joseph Olelenku? Is that what we do? Because, you know, you're saying we have institutions.
Joseph Olelenku is a minister, for example. I know he has probably, not that he doesn't have the capacity, and you can't blame him for it. He's never been in the security machinery before.
He says he has the merit. He says he has the capability. He claims he does. He insists.
Can he tell us, for example, in this blow-up which happened in Mwembetari the other day, the two Muslim guys, they said that they were on the trail. They were from the Masjid Shuhada. They were not from the Masjid Shuhada. One of them was a convicted criminal who was facing murder charges in Shimalatewa and was released because there was a shoddy job done by the police. The other one is a drug addict who has just come out of a rehab. None of them even goes to a mosque. So what is happening?
KK, are we in trouble?
Well, I think there are a couple of things that we need to bear in mind. One, under international public law, and I've said it before to you, there are a number of prerequisites for you to be a country. One of them, you have defined boundaries. Secondly, you have defined population. Thirdly, you have a capacity to maintain law and order. Fourth, you have the capacity to honor international obligations. And the fifth, you have the capacity to maintain your territorial integrity. Now, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the capacity to maintain law and order. Any government, anywhere in the world, must be able to protect its homeland. How do you protect your homeland? On two things, two fronts. One, you protect the lives of your citizens. Two, you protect their property. That's a cardinal obligation of any government anywhere in the world.
Are we fulfilling that?
Now, I'm coming to that. Now, for me, that is the weakest point in our country at this point in time.
That's the weak link.
That is the weakest point in our country. Because today, no Kenyan can tell you, I can sleep soundly tonight. And we must invest very heavily in what Mheshimiwa is talking about. Information gathering, intelligence. Intelligence is absolutely a must. Because if you don't know what is happening within the country, things are happening and then you wake up and you say, oh, so what is the difference between a police officer, a CID guy, and a special branch, and me and him who are clueless?
So let me ask you this. When did the rain start beating us? Because I remember not too long ago, and we're talking about during Moi's time, let's say, during Moi's time, you couldn't cough without some security guy on your back saying, hey, do you have a cold?
Oh, we had.
You couldn't.
We had. Even now, I believe we have some of the top-notch, best criminal investigating officers in our own security.
So what's the
machinery.
problem?
I don't know. You see, the guy who blew up the people in Mwembetari is out there still maybe going to blow us up again. We don't know. Because, what you see, let me tell you, the other day, the President, His Excellency the President, was even made to talk to Kenyans and say that there are so many of them that have been thwarted by our security machinery. When you thwart that kind of a thing, you come out with a paraphernalia, you have arrested a person, these are the guns, these are the bomb-making equipments, you're taking him to court, you're getting information from him that gives you the trail. How many times have we seen people like that?
KK, when did we drop the ball?
You see, I want to say this. As a nation, no country, and I want to emphasize this, no country can claim to have the sovereignty of its people when security is not assured. That one is something, I don't know when we drop the ball, but you can see the manifestation. When you start seeing the people in the street, they are scared. When you start seeing that even driving, you are scared. Then the ball was dropped has been dropped a long time.
And then we're getting into even a bigger and worse territory than that. Xenophobia. We're trying to say through the security machinery and the system itself, these are the people who are responsible. These are the people of a particular faith, people of a particular complexion, like myself, are responsible. Look at that.
Is that dangerous territory?
This is the beginning of the radio mill calling. I don't know if you know that. And there are certain media houses that are doing the same thing also. And the social media. Yeah. There are people who are out there in the social media. And I want to believe that these guys are not just coming out of the blues. They must be assisted by very powerful government machineries there. For them to be able to call you a terrorist and say, let's get Koinange or Farah Maalim, or we should kill them like Makaburi. You see what I mean? That's the kind of stuff that's going around right now. That's the stuff that's going around
Are these
right
dangerous
now.
times?
Very dangerous. Very dangerous. Because you're not only compromising on the security of the Kenyans, but you're now again creating a xenophobic situation in which 5, 6, 7 million Kenyans here are being, literally like Operation Anvil or Operation Jack Scott. You know that.
Yeah.
Exactly how the Mau and the rest. Something that does not belong to this day and
Gentlemen,
age.
we have exactly 3 minutes to go. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you for your final thoughts. Okay, so think about what you're going to say, KK. Mheshimiwa, I'm going to start with you. Final thoughts moving forward.
I think security, as KK puts it, is the most important thing in this country. And in my opinion, heads should roll. Let's get the right people doing the right job. And if we have a problem, this is tantamount to being a failed state. It's tantamount to being a failed state, and it's all over the country. It's not just here. For example, we lost 80 or 80-something people or 90. Is it about 100 now?
Yeah, almost 100.
Overnight. And the supply chain for this thing must have been so elaborate for this thing to hit 3, 4 different parts of this country in one night only.
Yeah.
So the criminal gangs, drugs, look at what's happening with drugs right now. Look at the hole that was cut off our waters.
25 billion.
25 billion. How many similar to that have made their way into the country? Our children are not safe. Our houses are not safe. Our properties are not safe. Nobody's safe. It's either terrorists, or it's drugs, or it's criminal gangs. And I mean, we're in trouble. These are the signs of a failed state.
Okay. KK, last word.
Let me just put it this way. As a civilized nation, every person who is a Kenyan must and deserves to be protected within the law and the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. We have a very elaborate Bill of Rights under Chapter 4 of the new Constitution. I would want to shudder. I shudder inside myself to hear that we can be a nation where we profile individuals because of their ethnic, religious, or racial content. That must never happen. And that's why we must invest very heavily in intelligence gathering, so that when we identify an individual, it is based on facts, so that every Kenyan knows, yes, I am a Kenyan. You hold the citizen of this country. The government and the Republic of Kenya must do everything they can to protect that citizenship. Let me give you an example. During Moise Lane, there was an American girl who got lost in Mount Kenya.
Julie what?
No,
sorry.
A girl who got lost. She traveled in Mount Kenya and she got lost there. The American government told the Kenya government, you must get that girl. The security asset of this country was employed.
Mobilized.
And they mobilized, they went and got that girl. She went to Kenya and Nairobi Hospital. Our own president visited her. Coincidentally, during the same time, a Kenyan top cyclist, he got lost. Kenyan top cyclist, he got lost. Not a single security asset was employed.
Was mobilized, yeah.
Was mobilized to look for this particular Kenyan. He disappeared, and that's it. Now the question is this: why did our own, the highest chief executive officer of the Republic of Kenya, including our military, our security asset, were employed to look for an American girl? Because to the Americans, it doesn't matter whether you're a criminal or you are the president or you are who. The life of an American has a premium. That is the attitude that I would like to see happen in this country. That the life of anybody called Kenyan has a premium. Because when that happens, then your dignity is underpinned. Otherwise, if there is any Kenyan whose dignity is threatened, nobody's dignity is safe in this country.
Gentlemen, we'll have to leave it at that for now, but I appreciate the conversation. I think that's very healthy. Thank you. Mweshimiwa, good stuff.
Thank you.
Let's come back. Let's talk more issues, because I know there are many more.
Thank you.
NSSF.
Public pension program.
Public pension program.
Yes, yes.
And many, many more.
Yes.
Gentlemen, we'll have to leave it at that for now, Mweshimiwa. Thank you so
you.
much. Don't move. Former Deputy Speaker Farah Marlin and KK himself, Koinange Kabage. We're talking issues. And yes, just like I keep quoting from that film, Apollo 13, Houston, we have a problem. And the problem is right here in the homeland. We have to sort out security so that people can go to bed knowing they're going to wake up tomorrow and they don't have to worry about watching over their backs. That's the bottom line. State of the nation. That's what we talk about. You can't get this conversation anywhere else but right here on JKL. Tomorrow night, a living legend himself, soccer great Joe Koinange. Listen to what he's going through today. You probably don't even remember who he is, but you should, because it's important, because he is a hero and an icon. That's tomorrow night, right here on Kenya's television network, KTN. Thank you, good night, and good luck. Thank you, gentlemen. Good stuff. Mweshimiwa?